Hey guys, I'm back, and I'm not gonna waste any of your guys' time. Let's just get going. Today we're going to be testing and reviewing the Reeven Brontes low profile cooler, and we're going to be comparing it to the Noctua NH-L9i, the Cryorig C7, and the Intel stock cooler as more of a baseline test with that. The test rig is an Asus Z270i motherboard with 8 gigs of RAM, an i7 7700K, a 1060, and a 450 watt PSU. So now let's go over the specs of the Reeven Brontes low profile cooler, since it is the new one to the tested arena. The Reeven Brontes is a low profile cooler only measuring in at 59 millimeters high, which is quite good. It would fit in most cases that I've seen that are mini ITX. It has wide aluminum fins with 4 heat pipes to dissipate the heat. It is a slim designed 100 millimeter fan that is quite nice and quiet, and it seems to provide plenty of airflow. I really like this black and yellow theme it has going too, which is Reeven's theme obviously. It's a unique style that you just don't see a lot of and would be perfect in anyone building a yellow and black setup. Okay, so I have the Intel stock cooler undone here because I just wanted to show you guys that I'm going to use the same thermal paste on all of these just to keep that consistent, and that is the Noctua thermal paste, just because I have a bunch of this. And really, as far as I'm concerned, any thermal paste, as long as it's consistent, is going to keep a consistent amount of testing for all of this. So let me go put down my rice grain here. Okay. And let's throw that stock heat sink back on. Okay, there we go. Finally on there, good. Okay, so let's take the handy screwdriver and screw. Whoa, buddy. Make sure your wires are all free. Okay, and that is on. Okay, so first test we're gonna run is the AIDA64 Extreme test. We're just gonna run a 10-minute stress test on each CPU cooler just to compare them temperature-wise over those 10 minutes, because after about 10 minutes it will have stabilized, all that kind of thing, and we should have an accurate representation of the high temperatures, low temperatures, and averages. So let's get that started. Okay, everything looks good to start, and we're pretty much just going to focus on the CPU temperatures here. I really don't care what the GPU temperatures are. I just wanted it to be purely CPU based and not running off of integrated graphics, which would have been under the same heat spreader and all that kind of stuff. So that's why I threw in the graphics card. So it's just focusing on how this CPU does, how these coolers do cooling down the CPU in a typical gamer's build, which typically is going to have a GPU. Almost nobody's going to be using integrated graphics. So let's go ahead and run this stress test for 10 minutes and we'll get going. And yes, I know this is the trial version of AIDA64. I do have the key for the full version, but I don't remember where it is. So we're going with the trial version today. Okay, so we're back after 10 minutes, and it looks like the CPU package here had a maximum temperature of 86, a minimum of 37, and an average of 77. But if you're looking at the per core temperatures, they're substantially worse. The minimum temperatures per core were around, let's say, 37-ish, and the maximums hit 100 degrees Celsius, which is exactly why it was thermal throttling about 20%, which is extremely significant, and you would for sure notice it. I mean, this is the i7 7700K, so it is a toastier processor for sure, and definitely could be delidded to make some better temperatures, but that's what you get from the Intel stock cooler. Okay, so let's shut down this computer, and let's do the C7 next. Oops. Always hate taking stock heat sinks off. Well, at least Intel stock heatsinks, just because it's this stupid push button system. Like, honestly, I wouldn't mind like a little screw. That would be fine to me. But that's okay. This is okay too. It's not terrible. Nice and clean CPU, and we are done with that one. Okay, time for C7. Another rice grain. So let's take the screwdriver and turn this on again. Okay, let's run IDA64 again on this one for 10 minutes. So on the package, the minimum temperature was 36 degrees, so that was our starting point. And then the maximum temperature was 80 degrees. And then if we're looking across the cores, looks like the cores averaged around 96 degrees, with the highest being 98, which is still pretty toasty, but it looks like their averages were quite a bit better, and they were around 82 degrees. So not great, but not terrible either. So here's how the C7 sounds at idle. And here's the C7 at full speed. Okay, so now that we have the Noctua one all the way in, let's go ahead and boot up IDA64 again and run a 10-minute stress test. So it looks like on the package this time the minimum was 30 degrees, the maximum was 78 degrees, and then if we're looking at a per core basis, it looks like the average across all the cores was somewhere around 94, 95 degrees, and the highest core was 96 degrees, which was core number 2. And then we had an average temperature across all the cores around, let's say 77.5, somewhere around there. And that's not too bad, honestly. So let's see how this thing sounds. So this is the idle sound right here. Okay, and let me start it up. That way you guys can hear what it sounds like ramped up. Okay, so I'm going to stop this now and swap out for the Reeven cooler finally. Okay, and we're going to run IDA64 for the last time. Okay, so we're looking at a CPU package maximum temperature of 77 degrees Celsius, a minimum of 31, an average of about 70, and it looks like across the CPU cores, highest temperature on any core was 93 degrees Celsius, which is still a little toasty, but not terrible. Looks like on average they were around 92, 91 degrees, and average temperatures across all the CPU cores were around 75-ish. So let me do the sound testing for you guys. Right here is just at idle speed, what it sounds like. Okay, and let me start up IDA64 one more time so you guys can hear it ramp up. Okay, and that's at full speed right there. Not bad at all. So here's the results of all 4 of the CPU coolers side by side. Excluding the Intel stock heatsink, they all did relatively well. And here's the comparison of the 3 coolers sound-wise, starting with their idle sounds. And this is how they sound under load. So the Reeven cooler is the one that ended up coming out on top. It was both thermally better than the other 2, as well as quieter, but an important point to point out is that it also looks pretty decent in my opinion. And the reason I mention that is because last time I tested these two coolers and I came to the conclusion that they were so similar in thermal performance that the only reason to choose the Noctua one was if you cared about how quiet it was, because this one was quieter than the C7, but the C7 looked a lot better. So when you come back to the Reeven one, the important point is it had all three, and that's why I think it won this tested round. But another point to point out is that this one is the tallest of the three of them. So the Brontes is the tallest, then it goes the C7, which is a little bit shorter, and then the Noctua cooler is shorter than that even. So that is the results of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this tested episode, and I'll be doing more like this soon. I'm glad to be back and look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. This is Zach with Next Tech News. See ya!